Welcome to this series of Chromebook Repair tutorials. This course, provided by VVSD, will show you the process on how to replace all the parts on a Chromebook model C720. This is the equipment needed. Here we have a screwdriver. There's two different types of bits. So here we've got a Phillips head bit and a flat bit. Additionally, there are two plastic spudgers. This black one's good for getting underneath the screen. And then obviously there's this blue one for other uses. Alright, this is a preview of the Acer C720. Alright, so opening up the Chromebook, we'll take a look at the bezel. This whole outer ring is the bezel. It also includes these two plastic hinges along the bottom here. Okay, so when removing the bezel, you're going to use this black plastic spudger. Remember, the bezel is this whole outer ring here. Alright, so you're going to take the pry tool, you're going to get underneath the bezel, and you're just going to pull up with your other hand as you get underneath of it. You're going to work your way all the way around. And remember, when you get to the bottom here, there's two little hinges. You gotta make sure you get under there as well. Underneath of these little hinge covers here, they can be a little tricky, so you wanna make sure you really get the black spudger underneath of there, separate it out. Alright, once those are out of there, you really gotta work the corners a little bit, and it should just pop right out if you use the spudger. Okay, once the bezel's been removed, you'll have access to the screen. Now you'll need a Phillips screwdriver to take the screen out, and there's 4 screws holding it in. So you'll just take those out. And once you've gotten all the screws out, you should be able to pull the screen just forward and lay it on the keyboard. And you'll see this connector back here is held down with some tape. What you're going to do is you're going to peel back the tape. Very careful not to destroy anything. But once the tape's gone, the connector should come right out. Alright, so when removing the top cover, you need the Phillips screwdriver. You're going to pop all these different screws out on those hinges. Alright, with the hinges removed, you're gonna with the hinge screws removed, you want to pull the hinge up just a little bit so your back cover is not still in the way. And then what you're gonna want to do is you see all these cables that run around the outside. You're gonna want to first unplug the webcam cable. You're gonna pull that cable out of the cable runners on the casing. And then these two stickies here, they're your Wi-Fi antennas. You're going to want to unstick those, and then you're going to have to also pull them through the cable runners. And then once you pull them all the way out, the top cover should come off. Make sure you pull all the cabling out of the top cover, get it all out of the cable runners, and then the top cover should separate very easily from the bottom half. Okay, so when removing the back cover, you're going to need a Phillips head screwdriver, and you're just going to get all these different screws that line the back casing. Now on this last screw, there's a warranty seal. What you can do is you can either peel it back and take the screw out, or you can, if you know where the center of the hole is, you can push the screwdriver through there and get to the screw that way. You just kind of peel it out. And then removing the back cover, you'll use the blue spudger we have. And I like to get where this little card reader is back here, kind of reach underneath and just kind of pop it out from there. You should work your way around, it should come right off. Alright, with the back cover off, the most important step in the whole Chromebook process is making sure you remove the battery. This plug here, you can just pull it out. It should just pop out of there. Yep, there you go. This way you won't fry anything. Alright, so with the back cover off and the top cover removed, you'll see the batteries here. Make sure it's not connected. If it's connected, make sure to remove it. It's for safety, and make sure you don't damage the device. And then with holding the battery down, there's two screws. Again with your Phillips screwdriver, one on the right, one on the left. Alright, and the battery should just pull right out of there. Alright, and then with the battery removed, you'll see there's a series of different cables plugged into the motherboard, ribbon cables and capacitors and other things. Alright, first one we're going to pull out is this ribbon cable over here to the daughter board. You pull up the clasp and then slide the cable out. Second one here, keyboard. Third one is for the touchpad. This, because this capacitor is in the way, we'll take that cable out of there as well. Up top is the display cable for the top cover. There's a sticker there. You'll pull the sticker back, and then the cable should slide right out. Just like that. These are your Wi-Fi antennas. They should just pop right off of the connections. And then you'll have a fan cable. Holding the motherboard down are a series of screws. This one holds down the solid state drive. Those are holding down the motherboard. So you'll just take those out with your screwdriver. Be careful with this one because you don't want to damage the drive down there. These ones holding down the fan, you want to make sure that they only come out part way. So if you try to pull them out all the way, we'll run into some issues. You should take them out part way and then slide the motherboard out. Make sure those cables get out of the way. Then just make sure you set your motherboard down on the table and not any static surfaces that could damage it. Alright, with the motherboard out of the way, we got to remove the rest of the components. So we'll take our Phillips screwdriver, we got to remove several screws, we'll get rid of this daughter board over here. Make sure you get that last screw. Alright, the daughter board should slide right out once you get all the screws out of the way. Make sure you pull it in a way you can get the USB out of the port. Now there's a ribbon cable that connects to your power indicator, so you'll unplug that. Get the USB out of the way. The next thing we're going to do is the speakers. So the speaker should just pull right out. Pull them up. Slide the wiring out of the wiring mounts. And then the final part will be the power indicator, the bottom there. There's two screws holding it down, and then it should slide right out after you can remove those. Okay, up next is the touchpad. You'll see there's this ribbon cable that connects to it. So we'll slide that ribbon cable out of the way, get to the touchpad. We're going to pull it off of the keyboard and we'll set it off to the side for now. Okay, and then holding the touchpad down, there's a bunch of screws. Alright, you'll see that there's also this plastic covering in the way. We'll pull that out. Don't need that. And then you'll just take out each of the screws individually. And then there's these two screws with the metal piece on the bottom there. Make sure take those out as well. Take that metal piece out. And then now with all the screws removed, the touchpad should just slide right out of there. Oh, there's stickies. You gotta make sure you get the stickies. With the stickies removed, now the touchpad should come right out. Alright, for reinstalling the touchpad, we've got the touchpad here. All the screws we used to mount it. The metal bracket, and the ribbon cable. First thing we're going to do is we're going to put the touchpad in, making sure all the holes line up for the screws. Take our Phillips head screwdriver, and these bigger screws, we'll just screw them in. Alright, next thing we'll do is we'll take the metal bracket and we'll mount it on there. Then we'll take the tiny screws, put them both along the bottom. And we'll take the ribbon cable, make sure we slide it in, get all the way in there, and then we'll put the clasp down. Okay, so we're going to reinstall all these components back to the keyboard. So we have the power indicator, the daughter board with our USB, and the speakers. But the first thing we're going to install is the power indicator. So we're going to mount that to the bottom left. Line the screw holes up. You'll take your Phillips head screwdriver, the screws, screw it in. Now we're going to take the speakers. The longer one will go on the left. Put that one in. Mounting brackets for it. Push it down until it sticks. And then you'll put the other one down. And then you'll just put this cable through the wiring brackets all the way across the front of it. Perfect. Now we'll take the daughter board. Remember, we have this ribbon cable here from the power indicator. You want to make sure, it can be very tricky sometimes. You might put it in upside down like this. If that happens, you'll notice you won't be able to mount it right, so you got to put it down. In that case, you'll have to take it out, flip it around, put it in the other way. Clamp it down. Make sure you slide the USB into the port, and then it should just rest down on top of the screw holes. Just screw it in. Alright, so now that we've got all these components in, we gotta put the motherboard in, but these wires are in the way. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna run these wires through these mounting points. So this black one will come across. And then, now that that's out of the way, we should be able to put the motherboard on. So you want to make sure you slide the ports into their, like the cutouts for them on the side of the machine. That should just sit down nice. Make sure all your cables are out of the way, and then you want to run the antenna, Wi-Fi antenna cables around the outside of your fan. Alright, now we're going to take our Phillips screwdriver. We're going to tighten down our fan screws just to hold the motherboard in place for now. Alright, and now we're going to start screwing in the motherboard. So first we're going to start with this top right screw. Alright, now we'll make sure the SSD, we'll screw that down. Alright. And then the next screw, remember, is this fatter one. It goes right next to where the SSD is, but on the actual motherboard. After this one, you'll see there's 2 screws left. Those are for the battery. Just leave those off to the side for now. We gotta start plugging back in the ribbon cables and like fan cables and whatnot. So we're gonna start with this display cable. See, it goes in the top there. You'll just slide it in, and then that piece of tape will still be there. Just push it down, make sure it sticks in place. Now we'll take our speaker and our capacitor cables over here. The capacitor cable will go towards the middle of the board and that port. Slide it in. Alright, now we'll take the speaker cable, plug it into the speaker port on the bottom of it. Okay. Now, these 2 ports, we have the touchpad one. Put that ribbon cable in, make sure you clasp it down. And the big one's the keyboard one. This one is for your daughter board over there. And this one's for your fan. Make sure they're all plugged in. Push them in all the way just to make sure. And the last 2 are these Wi-Fi antennas. If it helps, you can use a flathead screwdriver to push them down all the way. I like to use my fingers, I think it's easier, but some people like to use the flathead screwdriver to push them down. Next thing's the battery. You put that in. Make sure you don't cover up that cable, the battery connector cable. Alright, then we're going to screw it down with these last 2 screws. Okay. Now we finished installing the battery, so we'll plug it back in. And now we've completed installing all the components under the underside of the keyboard. Alright. Now we have everything installed on the bottom cover. It's time to put the top cover back on. So we'll set our bottom cover down, our whole bottom half. Make sure your hinges are all the way face down. You got your cables ready to go. We're going to have to run these cables all along the top here. So the Wi-Fi antenna cables, they'll go right where you peel them off from. You just stick them back down. And you'll find that there's a lot of slack in the wires. That's what we like to see. That way you make sure you can plug everything in. But we got to run it through these cable runners on the sides here. So we'll start with this white one. We'll run it through. Make sure you run it all the way through so it doesn't get caught in the way when we go to put the bezel back on. Alright, we'll do the same thing with this black wire. Run it all the way down the side. Alright. Now our Wi-Fi antenna cables have been ran. We just need to run our webcam cable. So we'll plug the webcam cable in, and we're going to run it down the same route that the black wire was ran down. Alright, make sure when you get to the bottom on these hinges, you keep the cables out of the way so the hinges can open up all the way. Very important to tuck them in real nice. See how the bezels line up now? Alright. So now we got to get our screws. Screw down our hinges. Okay, with the hinges screwed down, we just gotta make sure the cables are out of the way. Make sure they're tucked in there nice. And then we gotta make sure we tuck our display cable in as well. Okay, so now we're gonna grab our LCD screen. We'll set it down on the keyboard. First thing we're going to do is we're going to plug our cable back in. So the connector should slide right in there. And you want to make sure you put the tape down to stick it in place. Now you can flip the LCD screen back up and make sure that your cable doesn't move too much out of the way. You have to line up the mounts on the side of the LCD screen with the mounts on the top cover. Take your Phillips screwdriver and screw down the LCD screen. Now that the back cover and screen are installed, we can put our bezel on. So the bezel is pretty simple to get back on. You just put it on there, and you just push down, and it should click right back into place. You want to make sure you get all the way around the top, the bottom, and the sides. Stand it up, like to click in there, make sure it's all in. Perfect. Alright, the final part is putting the back cover back on. Pretty simple, you snap it back into place. Make sure it's all the way snapped in. Grab your Phillips screwdriver, all your back cover mounting screws. You just screw them all back in. Alright, in this video we covered how to take apart and reassemble an Acer C720. If you're replacing any parts in your computer, all you have to do is simply swap them out as you're rebuilding the computer. You should be able to repair any bezels, LCD screens, top bottom covers, keyboards, motherboards, or touchpads that may have failed in your Chromebooks. Thank you for watching. Alright, now with all our screws done, the Chromebook is set and ready to go.